This is the year that you're taking back control from your eczema. I know what it's like to have your first rash or your first flare up. It starts so small and then you start to see it grow and grow like day by day, and you're itching it, and now it's broken skin, and now it's gushing pus because you just couldn't stop itching, right? I know what it's like. Hello, my name is Valentina and I am I am an eczema veteran. Let's call it that. I used to have it in 2018. That was my worst, like full body. I still deal with it, but like I just have it way more under control now, and I live to tell the tales so that I can share with you that, you know, even if you're at your worst right now and it feels like it's the end of the world, I'm here to tell you that, trust me, babe, like there's a way out of it, okay? I think the main reason I'm still here today is because I was able to go on the internet and find other people that were also at their worst at one point and got through it. And I feel like since I got through it, it is my responsibility to also share how I got through it. So here we are. I've tried so many different skincare products. I remember like spending hundreds of dollars on skincare, and not to say that skincare isn't a big part of my maintenance, but I remember just being at a loss, and I tried different types of therapies, different types of alternative healing methods, and I will share with you every one of them that I can think of, just because I think it's important to be aware of like what works, what doesn't, and again, like what works for me might not work for you, what doesn't work for me might work for you. So I think it's nice to always like hear the anecdotal. And that being said, I am not here to replace any medical advice. I'm not a licensed medical professional. I'm not even a licensed skincare professional either. I do have a background in sciences and I have a background in cosmetic retail, but besides that, I am just a human that has experienced eczema themselves. So I am here to share my journey, and maybe you could take away something from it. But we'll come back to that. So I have 5 steps that I would like to share with you that I took to get a hold of my eczema and be in the driver's seat of where that first little rash goes, so that way it doesn't turn into a wildfire across my entire body. So first thing, when you realize you are ready to take control of the eczema and not let it take over your entire life, big thing that is important is your mindset. Your mindset has to be more open-minded, because you now have to be like the great explorer of your own body. You have to learn it inside out, basically, however you can, because for everybody, the root cause of eczema is different. And though it's a surface level issue and some people look at it as more cosmetic, it is like a sign that something is off internally and environmentally, perhaps. It's a calling for you to start listening to your body, basically. So that's where the open-mindedness is really helpful, because if you're quite rigid of a thinker, sorry to call you out if I'm calling you out, but also not sorry because it's for your benefit, you kind of have to start shifting your perspective a little bit and be open to trying things that you never have or wouldn't be open to trying before. And you also have to have the type of mindset where you feel like you can get through anything, because you will have to have tremendous self-belief even on your worst day. It's quite common to have depressive episodes during eczema because, you know, you just feel like your skin has a mind of its own, and no matter what you're trying, like topically, it may not work out right away. So you really have to be patient. Some methods might take a week or 2 to see improvement with, or sometimes after those 2 weeks you realize, okay, this isn't what's gonna work. So you kind of have to be able to switch gears, and you can't be depressed for too long, because when we're depressed for too long, some of us take less action. And with eczema, it's important to rest, but it's also important to take action and to be more in control of it. The next thing that I did was I had to make a lot of space in my life for the healing. So that means it's with you know, my relationships, my friendships, my activities, my extracurriculars, my job, my school. If it wasn't about the healing and didn't in some way help me heal, it kind of had to take a backseat. So like partying, you know, if I'm going partying, I can't be drinking as much. I can't compromise on sleep as much. I even had to take a few weeks off of school, which like in university, taking off time off school is like, you can feel the impact, but it was school or my skin. Like my skin was sticking to the sheets when I woke up sometimes. So like the choice was quite obvious. And I do recognize that at some point, some of us have a bit more privilege than others, and like we can't just like suddenly like not go to school or, you know, quit a toxic job, but like you just have to figure out what that is for you, like what your limitations are. Because when you have eczema, like your immune system is compromised. It just means that you might not be at 100% like before to do all the things that you used to be able to do. And I do believe that eczema calls us in to kind of question our previous lifestyles, because I find for me, eczema is a big messenger in letting me know like when I'm doing wrong by my side, and not having eczema is like a sign of me doing right by my side, if that makes sense. So it's a symptom that some of us, whether we like it or not, just have to listen to. If we don't, there are consequences. And you know what those consequences might look like, because you're probably feeling them right now, in it right now, since you're here watching this video. Personally, like when it comes to work, like for me, I realized like my limitation is like working 4 days a week instead of 5 days a week. And you just gotta see what that looks like for you. So like 4 days a week might be a smaller paycheck depending what job you work with, but it calls you to look at your life and see like, where do I have unnecessary expenses? Where am I overspending, overdoing it? Like, you know, for every person, it's a little bit different, and you make adjustments where you can. But that was huge for me. I did what I could at the time. And I noticed when I'm not able to compromise on things like stressful work or, you know, stressful relationships, that is when I end up jeopardizing my skin health. Because anytime now when I do get a flare up, it's when I am in a very stressful situation of my life, and then I have to take a pause and reassess like, okay, is this job, is this partnership, is it working for me? Chances are it's not. And then it takes time to like make a decision of how I'm going to pivot, but once I do notice that my skin gets clear a lot faster. The third thing that helped me is quite classic, you know, lifestyle habit changes. So that would be like nutrition, more exercise, or an adjusted exercise plan that doesn't hurt your skin too much, because I know what it's like to try and move your body with eczema while your skin is like swollen, itchy, and irritated, and then the heat makes it even worse. So what that looks like could look different from person to person. For example, like more walks, more going out in the sun, maybe like gentle hikes, or I mean, if you want to go to the gym, by all means. Personally, I kind of stopped going to the gym once I had eczema because it was just too much for me. So I ended up doing more outdoors activities. I heard trampoline is also a good one, like jumping on the trampoline to get the lymph moving. If you believe in that, up to you, up to your mindset and where you're at with it. And with food also, you know, don't be too hard on yourself if you haven't considered your eating habits, because it's a lot to like know all the nutrients, and like you basically, like, no one's asking you to become, you know, a holistic nutritionist like right away. But I find that a lot of people in the eczema space, including myself, like did find a lot of benefit from just being more intentional about their food and like what they're eating. So, you know, the basics are like less junk food, more whole foods, more seasonal foods, less takeout, because with takeout you're not really in control of the ingredients. But if you're cooking more at home, and again, I know it's like, you know, who has time for that, but like where you can, you know, do the little changes where you can. every little thing adds up. So if you're used to eating takeout like 5 times a week, like maybe try to like lower it to 3 times a week and see how that goes. Maybe get like a meal plan like from like, I'm not gonna say them right now because I haven't actually tried them, but you know, some of those like monthly food deliveries where you like, it comes pre-packaged or whatever, like the ratios are ready for you to just basically cook it. That would probably even be better than takeout because it seems like it's fresher, like there's more whole foods involved. Oils you're more in control of as well. Throughout my channel, I will share like the specific foods that help me or like what dietary changes help me. Again, it's unique, you know, for some people like veganism helps for a little bit, to some like paleo is the way, and I'll share my journey with food along the way, but just want you to be prepared that, you know, nutrition does play a key role in your skin's health, but it also doesn't have to be so dramatic because I do believe in balance. And I also know what it's like to get to a point where you're starting to get scared of the food you're eating. I feel like with food changes, like with more drastic food changes, it might take you like a few months to like half a year to do, really get in control of your skin a little bit more. And then after that, you can like, for me at least, I was able to go back to like a more balanced, like where I was able to like have pizza and not have a flare up right away like I used to. Because I remember like there was a point where I would have like 1 slice of pizza, I'd be okay. I'd have a second one, still okay. I have a 3, whew, okay, we're out, skin out, digestive tract out. But now I'm at a point where like, you know, if I do 3 slices of pizza, I'm okay. Not as itchy, not as reactive. And I do think with the eczema community, like there needs to be more studies on like how reactive and how sensitive we are. But that leads me to the 4th thing that really helped me kind of get in control of how reactive I was to food and my environment. It is my mental health. Being more attuned with my mental health and sorting out issues of the past, repressed trauma, repressed anger. Anger is huge. Repressed anger and eczema are like this. For me, when I do look into like the psychosomatics of eczema, anger seems to always kind of be like one of the emotions there. We can get into that more in my next videos as well, but repressed anger for me, huge. So now I'm at a point where like I try and be more vocal about when I have uneasy emotions, because it is me doing a favor to me and the people around me, because the right people will hopefully understand and meet me halfway, and we both try to navigate our relationships better. That is a big thing. So, you know, mental health, like it's important to have, you know, a counselor or a therapist if you can, or if that works for you. I know for some people like therapy might not be the best route, but for me, talk therapy was beautiful. I am interested in trying somatic therapy, but for now it helps me really to talk through my emotions, because I used to feel unsafe talking about my emotions, and so I wouldn't really like share anything. I would just bottle it in, and that just makes the skin condition so much worse. I was also losing hair at one point. I had alopecia, but we can talk about that later because that was a mad one too. Mental health, so important in your eczema journey, and that's why I'm even saying like the mindset thing is so important. I know so many days when you're deep down under a big flare up, it's easy to get washed away with the depression blanket and just like sulk and feel sorry for yourself. And like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't let yourself have those days, but that can make it worse, because like eczema is made worse with more stress. And so just make sure that depression is, you're not like getting stuck in it and not letting it out. That's why even like the exercise, the movement is good, because then at least like if you're depressed and then you're going for walks and like you kind of like start to exist outside of your body a little bit more, you like start, all your 5 senses are starting to kind of like illuminate. So you want to make sure that you don't just fully curl into yourself like and just hide from the world. Like you want to make sure that you're still present with yourself, and yes, you allow yourself to feel the emotions you're feeling, but you're not holding on to them. So it's important to have someone to talk to about it. I find that leaning on the eczema community online was really helpful too, and or anybody in real life that had eczema that knew what it was like, that was like the people I seeked. But also like just having some safe spaces in your friendships is really important. So, you know, like how I was saying, make space like in your life to heal, including away from unbeneficial friendships and relationships. Like if you are surrounded by some people that don't want the best for you, or just want you to like do activities with them that actually harm you in the long run, like, you know, excessive partying, sometimes those people have to take a back seat because it's all about your healing right now. And trust me, I'm not saying like go away from community, because the right community will form, especially like the more you are intentional about what journey you're on and what you do, like the more you'll find those people that you can connect with that are like on a similar page. Last but not least, the fifth thing that really helped me in my journey with, you know, being more in control of my eczema is the maintenance part through skincare. So good skincare is out there, and it can take a bit of a trial and error to find the right skincare for your eczema and your symptoms, because like I find that even some things that helped me at one point don't help me as much now, or like the things I thought weren't helpful are helping me now. So it really depends, like, because the body changes, you know, your physiological preferences change, I guess. Your environment changes. I find that skincare is like a band-aid or a crutch, if you will, but it's just one of those things you don't want to over depend on for too long. But, you know, as I mentioned, like the healing is internal and it requires a lifestyle change of some sort. Those things can take some time to see the benefit of, because it takes a lot. I would say like anything you try, like usually it takes about like 2 to 3 weeks to see improvement from, for me at least. So with skincare, it's that too, but I find that sometimes skincare can kind of speed the healing process up, at least like topically. And I want to say I actually did not take any topical steroids, and that was a conscious choice. I was prescribed it, and even on my worst days, like sometimes I was tempted to, but I did not, because part of my mindset shift was like, I'm going all the way with taking on this inner healing, because I have seen the topical steroid withdrawal community and what they go through, and I just knew that I would rather deal with the worst of it now than go through it just as bad or maybe 10 times worse like later on. That is a choice I made, and I don't regret it, because I feel like now I have learned my eczema more and understanding like when it comes up, kind of understanding and able to assess why it's there instead of like running away from it. But the skincare helps kind of maintain it so that the skin doesn't fall apart while I try to sort out my life, right? So like if I'm like in a stressful job, last thing I need is like stressed out skin. So yes, I will go and get my skincare, put it on, and then my skin will see some benefit, but at the same time the itchiness is still coming back. And so it's like, hey, have you considered if this is the right job for you, or if that's the right friendship or relationship for you? Is there something you did not say? I specifically get eczema on my neck, so I feel like I am always called out by the eczema when I don't speak up. For me, not speaking up is major, so I have learned to find spaces where using my voice is a bit safer. I still sometimes trip up and I'm not able to speak my truth right away, but I find that once I do, even if I'm just like journaling about it, like I feel the benefit of that release on my neck, you know? In brief, this is like the 5 steps that have helped me, and I'll go into more detail with each one of them. I am so excited for you because I know that it's so stressful when you're deep in a flare, but trust me, like you're gonna get through this. You have to believe it, that you're gonna get through this, because you will. So hang in there, like you got this, because I'm here, and like I still get a little bit of eczema here and there. Like I just had like a little bit of a flare. You can see like the little scars, not this, but You can see like on the wrist. This was happening because I was going through a really intense 6 months, and in the last month it just was like, girl, like, what are you still doing in this lifestyle? Since then, I've been making a lot of changes. I'm taking compromises where I can. My skin is clearing up. Am I still itchy? Yeah, I'm a little bit itchy right now at the back of my neck. OMG, is there something I'm not saying? There are conversations that I do need to have with some people that I have been avoidant about, yes, but also like my eating habits have been not amazing. They have been trash. Like, I don't mean to judge, but my eating habits have been trash. Let's just say that. That is due to change. My other thing is like, I don't itch. Like, I don't itch as much as I can because itching makes it worse. But we'll talk about that another time. Like and subscribe because this will definitely encourage me to share more of my journey. I think it's very valuable to learn from people's journeys because you get to comb out like, okay, what should I try? Like the thing I wanted to try, should I try it? We'll get into it, okay? Bye.